Hello, everyone. X-Wall Kill Bethelite here. And one thing that I have never had a Jehovah's Witness explain to me yet, whether it be a relative or a friend or somebody that watches a video and wants to give a response. The question I have not had answered yet is one of credibility. I completely understand why a long time ago nobody questioned Watchtower. I completely understand that. Now we've seen a pattern of teachings that were incorrect, not just incorrect, but about as extremely incorrect as humanly possible. Like they were obviously wrong as possible. Millions now living will never die. I guess there's people walking around now from way back when that book was printed. Generation of 1914 not passing away. End of the world coming in 1975. Bev Sareem. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Now they're on overlapping generations. My question is, why don't we, now that Watchtower has had a record of getting things wrong, why don't Jehovah's Witnesses now require proof? Like, it's completely irresponsible for you to ask me for directions. I give you wrong directions over and over and over. And then when you want directions again, you come back and ask me again, and I give you directions and you don't check it. I've been wrong all these times. You just assume maybe I'm right this time. That makes no sense. Nobody uses that logic. Nobody does. So Watchtower obviously can't talk about any other church's teachings, whether they're right or wrong, because Watchtower's teachings have been wrong. But my question is, after we saw that they were wrong, why didn't we say, okay, give us proof that we're right now? Give us proof that in 2020, we have come to the correct conclusion at this point. Has any member of Jehovah's Witness, I'm talking about the entire worldwide millions of people, have any of them decided that they were going to prove that they're correct, at least at this point? That the Bible's talking about overlapping generations and so on and so forth. This is where we get into people being just stupid. I mean, there's no other word for it. You could say indoctrinated, but the indoctrination was based on Watchtower always being right. When I was a Jehovah's Witness and I was indoctrinated, a large part of that indoctrination, a large part of me believing we were correct, is because we hadn't been proven wrong to my knowledge. Once I become aware that we teach things that are not correct and we've had a pattern of teaching things that were not correct, then just common sense, even for an indoctrinated person, you're going to want to make sure you're right at this point. At this point, let's make sure that we're correct. So I would have proven that I was in the truth, essentially. Like the Bible says you should. Prove that you're in the truth. Prove that you're where you're supposed to be. I would have done it, and I was about as indoctrinated as possible, born and raised in it. So once I go to Bethel, and my entire life, people get up on that platform and say, At the world headquarters, this goes on and that goes on. Bethel, everything's better. They do this at Bethel, they do that. And then when I go and I'm like, no, they don't. Why are people getting up on the platform and just automatically saying Bethel does everything right when I'm at Bethel and I know that they don't? I remember going to Bethel, being there for a while, coming back to visit home, and then you sit at the meeting, and of course people get up on the platforms that ain't never been to Bethel, saying Bethel does this, and Bethel does that, and this and that happens at the world headquarters. And I'm sitting in the seats like, no, they don't. They just literally just get up there and just start lying. And everybody believes it. At some point, we're going past gullibility. There's a such thing as gullibility, just being gullible. You're easy to believe things. But once the person you believe has a track record of giving you wrong directions, if you're not a little bit more careful when you get directions from them again, that's not gullible. There is, and it's not indoctrination, because there's nothing really to cover being clearly wrong repetitively over and over and over. New light doesn't even cover that. The light part doesn't explain the wrong, the incorrect. Yeah, you may learn more about something over time, but to be so wrong, you're making false predictions and things of that sort, that wasn't light at all. That's not light getting brighter. That's you were just flat out wrong. Like there was no light at all. The book, when millions now living will never die, the 1914 generation that will not pass away before the end of the world, that was not light at all. That can't get brighter. It was never bright to begin with. It was never light. That was just flat out false teaching. Flat out. Once we get to a point where a religious group has been wrong over and over and over again, and you got people 70 and 80 years old still waiting for the end of the world, at some point, we cross over gullibility into stupidity. At some point, if I was still a Jehovah's Witness, after knowing that they've been part of the United Nations, after knowing that they've caused people in other countries to be persecuted, put in prison, and then in this country, they're a little bit more lenient. So one country, you got people dying. In another country, oh, they're a little bit more lenient over there. Like, once you become aware of that, and you become aware that before we were born, they had people not having kids because they were telling them the end of the world was coming. So you got all these people that gave up on having kids, and they're dead now, and the end of the world never came. I mean, it's just blatantly obvious. Once it becomes blatantly obvious, I'm talking about older people in the organization right now, the truth, whatever you want to call it, all their friends are dying. They're going to funerals left and right. All they're doing is going to funerals and looking at the caskets of the people who thought the end of the world was around the corner. At some point, you done gone past gullibility. You done got into stupidity. At some point, people cross over that. The kids don't. I'm talking about adults. For grown adults, I mean, if you got a boyfriend or girlfriend and they cheat on you every single time they get a chance, and then you look at their phone and they got text messages that are all inappropriate to somebody of the opposite sex, and they tell you, oh, it's nothing going on, and you just believe them, and they done cheated on you 10 other times, you done went into stupidity at that point. Oh, they're not cheating because they said they're not, and people change. Even though you see the text messages right there. That's not gullibility. That's beyond that. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are just beyond and into Mental health issues and stupidity is what you get into. There really isn't a way around it. Because if the indoctrination covered being flat out wrong, I would still be in. I would have sat in that Kingdom Hall after having been at Bethel, saw a brother get up on the platform and use Bethel as a standard of everything and say Bethel this and Bethel that. I'd have sat there and say, yeah, he's wrong about every single thing he's saying. But somehow it's still the truth. And indoctrination would have worked on me then. The indoctrination works up until a point where you get to a point of no return. Like, this is blatantly, obviously, a magazine printing company, and they got all these people giving out, doing whatever they want. Free labor. They're getting free labor from people. And these people believe them whether they're right or wrong. Like, it is unreal. You start getting into situations that's unreal. And I think that might have something to do with the aggressive activism, where you figure, okay, these people are just too dumb to figure it out on their own. Somebody needs to go to a hall, stand up in front of everybody in the middle of the meeting and yell it out because they're just dumb. I mean, it's you tell me, give me another alternative to being stupid after you done gone past the point of it's 2020 and end of the world hadn't come yet, and they've been talking about the end of the world since back in 1970s, around the corner. I mean, any day now. I've been in the car groups where the elders are all talking about there's no way we get past another year in this system. There's no way. Like, and these people are dead now. Come on now. You're getting into a point where we can't even excuse it anymore. There isn't even an excuse for it anymore. You got COVID-19, and COVID-19 has essentially just shut down their preaching work. If you thought, well, they get everything wrong, or they get a lot of things wrong, really, really wrong. I think in the, Watchtower back in the day, it was the golden age or whatever you want to call it. Information come from that same organization back in the day was about as racist as it can be. It was about as racist as it can be. People ignore that. Back in the day, I believe they said that Jehovah lived on planet Kolob or something like that. That sounds like some Scientology stuff. Like, this is the same organization, and it's been giving out extremely incorrect information over and over and over again. They thought they knew what planet Jehovah was on back in the day. Let that sink in. And now you have people in that same organization. You try to show them something from their own organization, and they'll literally stop you if it's an older publication. Well, if that's an older publication, we don't need to get into that. Why? They know it's wrong. If you know it's wrong and you're still there, you've gone past gullibility. If you try to show anybody some older literature, your friends, your family, I'm just going to be real with you. If you try to show them some older literature, it doesn't have to be that much older. It could be the stuff they were talking about, the generation of 1914. Before they started making up overlapping generations. Try to show it to them. Or you try to show them all the racist stuff that came from that organization. And if they stop you and say, well, that was older light. Racism was older light. If they stop you because they know that information is wrong, and they know there was a pattern of everything being wrong, and they have never said, hey, y'all been wrong all this time. Prove to me you're right now. Then you're into stupidity. I'll just repeat that over and over again. I mean, this is getting to the point where I'm repeating the word stupidity because I can't think of another word. Gullible, extremely gullible, indoctrinated. Like, for indoctrination to work, what they're telling you has to at least look true to you. So if you know all that information is false, how are you indoctrinated? You're partly awake. If you know all that information is false, you're partly awake. You just need to go the rest of the way and say, and what we have currently is false. Everything in the past was false. What we have currently is false, and you're there. You're one step away from being completely awake. You guys comment down below. Let me know what you think. Why do people still go into a Kingdom Hall and just automatically believe whatever they say is true, even though they've got a pattern of being wrong? Even though the person in the seat listening to the speaker on the platform may be married to the speaker and knows this person can't hardly read, let alone give me reliable information. They know the person up on that platform ain't got no education and no religious anything other than they've been reading a bunch of watchtowers, and we've already covered that those have been wrong. So how are people who have not been doing anything but reading a bunch of watchtower literature that's been wrong mostly, how are they qualified to teach someone spiritually or teach someone, give somebody religious instruction? It makes no sense at all. If I studied at a college for 4 years and we come to find out that all the information that college had us researching was incorrect, am I now qualified? You know what I mean? But my whole degree goes out the window. Everything I've been studying was wrong. Completely wrong. When it comes to the point of me being educated enough to be reliable. Comment down below, let me know what you think, because I have yet to find a single Jehovah's Witness to answer this really basic, simple, reasonable question. You've been wrong the whole history of the organization. Why haven't you proven that you're right, you're correct now? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. 937-789-4029. We'll discuss it. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.